Hey guys, it's Key here from Kegland. I just want to do a really quick video on kegs. I know a lot of people think that these 19 litre kegs are a generic item and they're all the same, but really there's a big difference. And now more than ever we're seeing a lot of cheap Chinese imports come in that we're starting to compete with. In fact, one person actually gave one to us because they weren't really happy with it, and yeah, they thought they were returning one of ours, but it was actually somebody else's, one of our competitors. And we've got that right here as well. But basically our kegs, the main difference between ours and others on the market is firstly we use a acid bath pacification. So we actually immerse the entire keg in an acid bath and then run electrolysis, electricity through the keg to essentially aggressively improve the stainless properties of the keg so you don't get surface rust. So that's a really important part. I know a lot of people look at our kegs and ask, why has it got that slightly dullish, surface finish, as opposed to some other kegs which have like more of a brushed, a nice, brighter stainless steel finish. And the main reason is because when you don't do the acid bath electrolysis pacification, it ends up being, nice and brushed and shiny, but you'll end up getting surface rust later on, which you'll see in a tick. The other thing is our posts are machined to 20 micron accuracy. So we have very tight tolerances on our posts. All the posts are 304 stainless steel, just like the entire keg itself. Our kegs are NSF approved, so every year we have to go through an approval process to make sure we maintain a fairly high standard to make sure they're still made to that NSF approval. I guess in Australia, NSF approvals don't mean a lot, but definitely in the States, for our customers over there, they mean an awful lot, I guess. And also the welding on these kegs are sanitarily welded, and unlike some kegs which are done by hand, these kegs are all done robotically, so we can get a really tight tolerance and accuracy on the welding. And then after we're done, every single keg is hydro tested as well, so we test every single one for pressure before it leaves the factory, knowing that they are as good as we say they are. The other thing is, on the kegs, each one comes with a lid with the hook underneath, so you can actually hang a hop tube just like that. Now the hop tube doesn't come included, of course, you've got to buy that separately, but this little hook is really handy. It doesn't come on standard second-hand kegs, and really it's only some of the new kegs which include this, but if you ever want to hang like hops or infuse your, your keg or beverage with oak chips or something like that, it's always a really difficult thing. How do you do it? Like, you got this lid here, and if you drop them in the keg, it's very hard to fish that stuff out later on. So a lid which has one of these hooks underneath is really handy. So let's take a look at the comparison between our kegs and another competitor's kegs, who we basically cleaned and put in cleaning solution for 4 weeks, and then we put them up side by side. So let's have a closer look.
Alrighty, so the first thing I'm going to show you is the inside of the keg. So on the left-hand side here, we've got the Kegland keg, and on the right-hand side, you've got the competitor's keg. So you can see the difference straight away. One on the left looking fantastic. One on the right, we've already got some rust sort of starting to develop. Now, if you just look at this photo from this distance, probably think, oh yeah, that's okay, just a little bit of surface rust, probably can get rid of that. Now, remember that these kegs both were only 4 weeks old. So, after even only a short amount of use, we're already seeing this type of thing turn up, which is a bit worrying with the poorer quality keg. But let's zoom in a bit closer. This little bit of defect here, look, I'm not really sure. Could have just been a bit of welding splatter or something like that on there. So that one I'm not that concerned about. Look, probably with a bit of pacification, you could do that with some phosphoric acid or something. You might be able to get rid of that. But this one on the right-hand side, this looks pretty serious actually. So you can see this keg here, the weld actually, it seems to have some serious imperfections. I would say contamination in the weld is probably my best guess. So maybe the weld wasn't the surface of the stainless wasn't cleaned properly prior to welding, or possibly it wasn't shielded correctly. That could be the issue. It's really hard to say, I suppose, when you get a defect like this, but this was significant enough that you could get your fingernail caught in this spot. And I would imagine if this was to go any further, you'd probably start getting a pinhole leak in this type of keg. So maybe after a year or a couple of years, you may start to find this type of weld might leak in a really small pinhole. Look, you could repair it, I guess, but it's definitely a bit of a pain in the backside. So that's inside the keg. When you look at the outside of the keg, you can see here, there's a bit of a difference. Look, to be honest with you, the Kegland kegs are raw stainless, I should also mention, but I've got a funny feeling when I saw the outside of the competitor's keg, it did look a lot like they have actually put a PVDC coating on the outside, sort of like I guess like you can call it a varnish sometimes, but already you can see that coating starting to break through on a couple points, and you can see some surface rust which is starting to occur while you just don't see that on our keg. So yeah, definitely that's also another thing to be concerned of. It's probably more obvious on the laser engraving actually. If you look at the laser engraving here, you can see some of the PVDC coatings actually burnt away from the end there. And then you can see it's starting to rust through the coating. So really, if you're making kegs with proper stainless 304 stainless steel and you're pacifying them correctly, there's no reason to use a coating actually. So it's sort of like a bit of a cheap method to avoid having to use proper pacification. Let's look at the next photo. And the last photo I think is really the worst. So you can see on the post here, yeah, the Kegland keg obviously looking perfect there, but then on the right hand side, the competitor's keg, the post is completely rusted. Well, not completely, but the poppet in particular. It looks like the main part of the post is probably okay. There was a little bit, it's hard to see on this photo, but there was a little bit of rust down here, you know, on the base of the post. Yeah, obviously hasn't had good pacification on the neck of the post here, but definitely this poppet got a serious problem. So I guess not too expensive. You could always replace the poppet, like whip the post off with a spanner and then get under there, replace the poppet, but you know, you really shouldn't have to do that. Now, all kegs, I'll also say that we sell at Kegland come with 5 years warranty, and we stand by our product, and we give you 5 years warranty because we know you're not going to claim it. We very rarely see any warranty claims on kegs because we know the quality of our product is really good. And that's why we're happy to offer 5 years, because it doesn't cost us anything. So anyway, that's the difference between our kegs and some of the other ones on the market. Look, hope you've find this informative. We don't really like talking and bagging other people's product, but the reality is this is an issue which is coming into the market. And some people, they just say, oh, these new kegs out of China, all of them are bad. But really, they're not all bad. There's definitely good ones and there's bad ones. And we just wanted to make sure we're explaining the difference to you customers out there so you're educated enough to see the difference. All right, thanks for that, guys. Hope to talk to you next time. Bye.